kidnapped in other parts of the country, and we haven't paid the ransom.
David Wright of Save the Children in Pakistan, thank you very much.
12 minutes past 7. The local elections come round on Thursday, and there's no doubt that the single contest that most people are talking about is that between Boris Johnson, the Mayor of London, and Ken Livingstone, who, of course, wants his old job back. It's now 12 years since the capital's had an elected mayor, and a great deal has happened since then. If you look back to the congestion charge brought in by Mr Livingstone, to the cycle hire scheme brought in by Mr Johnson, which has produced bikes racing across London. A great deal of money's been spent, and a lot's been promised by both candidates and the others who are standing in the contest coming up to Thursday. Would some of the things that have happened in the last few years in London have happened without the mayors? Andrew Hoskin reports.
I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who's come here to volunteer, to clear up the mess of last night, everybody who's come to repair the damage. That is the real spirit of London.
Those who came here to kill last Thursday had many goals, but one was that we should turn on each other like animals trapped in a cage, and they failed.
Ken Livingstone in 2005 after the London bombings, and before then Boris Johnson in Clapham last year at the time of the London riots. Both mayors appeared to embody the spirit of the capital at a time of crisis. But apart from being an important figurehead and the odd eye-catching initiative, could Londoners be forgiven for asking, what has the Mayor of London ever done for us?
Are they Boris cycles or Boris bikes? I'm not entirely sure. I've never been entirely sure.
Boris bikes, everyone says, yes, yeah. Absolutely. I think it's his most visible achievement.
I met up with Boris Johnson's latest biographer, Sonia Purnell, by a rack of so-called Boris bikes, one of Mayor Johnson's more high-profile projects. There's that famous sketch in Life of Brian when everyone's asking what the Romans ever did for us, and it turned out to be quite a few things. I mean, do you think the same argument could be really made for the Mayor of London?
Look, I think the only way forward for the Mayor is to give him or her more powers over the city as a whole, as you would get in New York with Bloomberg, who has, I think, improved the quality of people's lives, and he does have much more powers than the London Mayor. Really, it's a bit infantile, our mayoralty. It doesn't have the powers, it doesn't have the spending money it really needs to make a difference. So I would argue, if we're going to keep it, let's for goodness sake make it a really grown-up big mayoralty that has big powers.
The Olympics, the congestion charge, Crossrail, greater investment for the tube, a new improved Routemaster bus. Some observers say these things could never have happened without a mayor. And that's particularly true of transport initiatives, says the journalist and railways writer Christian Wolmar.
The mayoralty has been a great boon for people wanting better transport in London. Since the creation of the mayor, there's been a complete revamp of the bus service, and there's a continued programme of expansion with the likes of Crossrail, the London Overground, and so on. Transport is the big issue at mayoral elections, and it's the number one issue that the mayoral candidates want to promote.
Well, here at City Hall on the south bank of the Thames near Tower Bridge, I've been asking people what they think the Mayor of London actually does. Most people have a rough idea, but it's very hard to find anybody now who doesn't think the capital needs its own directly elected mayor. Do you think it has been a success?
I do, yeah. I think that there are definitely examples with things like the congestion zone, with the bike scheme, things that you can see just going about London from day to day that have an obvious impact on people's lives.
Do you know what the London Mayor actually does?
Not a lot, no. Sorry. Well, yes, obviously he maintains London, keeps us safe, and you probably need somebody to oversee all that's going on and somebody to complain about. And to complain to, more importantly.
But for critics of the current setup, aside from transport, there's not all that much to show. For example, the chronic lack of affordable housing in the capital has reached crisis proportions. City Hall journalist and blogger Adam Bienkov.
Housing is an intractable problem in London, and things haven't really improved a great deal under the mayoralty. The mayor does have, in the last few years, it has been given more powers over housing. Whether or not that's going to make a big difference, we have to wait and see, I guess.
But only through planning, really, isn't it? I mean, forcing developers to include some housing in their projects.
In a way, I think it's crazy that the mayor, who's such a big figure, has such a huge mandate, has less powers than a local council leader, who most people probably couldn't even name. So I think that's that's something that I think that's a balance that's got to change.
Professor Tony Travers of the London School of Economics Government Department thinks that the London mayoralty has proved enough of a success to help foment a potential constitutional shift from central to local government.
I think the Mayor of London is as here to stay as anything that's ever introduced in British government and politics. I mean, what's most interesting about the Mayor of London model is that it's provoked an interest in the Conservative part of the coalition, which follows very closely Labour's interest when they were in power, to extend the model away from London. So I think we're going to see more mayors in big cities, and that potentially could begin to alter British politics.
Whatever the current limitations of the role, there's little question that the London mayoralty is still evolving, and on Thursday whoever wins will have garnered around 1 million votes, comfortably the greatest direct mandate of any public position in the UK.
Andrew Hoskin reporting on the position of London Mayor, and of course you can get a list of all the candidates who are standing for that post, as well as details on all the other elections on Thursday, on the BBC News website.